Welcome back to the channel on this nice, sunny, warm day of May. I feel like it should be warmer right now. I feel like we should be kind of to the point where I could get first cutting hay off, and it's just really not to that point. It's been raining nonstop, raining constantly. We've had like 2 nice days, maybe 3 max, and then it's rained for like 4 or 5. It's just kind of been a vicious cycle. I've been sick, I guess, kind of the past week, so I haven't posted anything, haven't done a video, anything like that. I'm finally better and feeling good. Here and there I've worked on the garden when I was feeling half decent, so I kind of have half of it done. We went the plastic route this year. I'm trying something different to try and combat the weeds. Obviously I didn't plow it, I didn't disc it, anything like that. We're rototilling this year, so it should help all around, you know, doing the plastic and doing the rototilling. So this is kind of where I'm at so far. I have 4 rows done. This pretty much took me an entire week just to get this far. Now that I'm feeling better, I think, you know, and we've had a hard rain in here too, so everything is kind of packed hard again. It's going to need, you know, rototilled up, worked in. I do need to get another row of plastic in here somewhere, figure out what all I'm going to get planted. I got to get sweet corn in here, and the potatoes are going up top. Those I don't think I'm putting in plastic, although I could. I'm going to try it without, because once the sweet corn gets tall enough, it should shade out and completely, you know, be taller and obviously eliminate any weeds that are kind of in there. Hopefully that's the plan. So this is where we're at right now. We're going to finish this. Quick rundown of what I got planted in here so far. See if I can remember this. We have zucchini to watermelon, 1 pepper plant there. This is our cucumbers up here, and cantaloupe in the first half of the second row. All of our tomatoes pretty much come down pretty much this entire 3/4 of this row, followed by peppers, and there's peppers at that end where the tractor is, followed by our lettuce right here. This is all onions the rest of the way. So still have some seed things I want to get planted. The biggest thing is our started plants. I needed to get them in the ground because with the rain that did occur, they were stuck in the trays for probably 4 days at least, maybe 5. So I really didn't want to leave them in the trays longer than I had to. So I get in, hop in the tractor, we'll rototill all this quick, get everything loosened up. Hopefully it's not too soggy. There was a couple areas down there that it was, and up top here, one of them specifically was right in this vicinity, and it was really squishy. You would sink really bad, and you can see how this footprint there sunk, and it's nothing like that at all now. So I think we'll be good to go. And this is some of the things right here that I want to avoid. Well, that was quick and easy. This dirt's actually in pretty good shape. Down at that end, a little touch where it's not like muddy, but you can tell it's clumped up a little more. There's definitely more moisture in the ground than on this end. You can see a little bit drier section here, there. But overall, pretty good shape. They want rain overnight, tomorrow all day, and then pretty much the rest of the week. So need to get this done, finished, and then not have to worry about it. Hopefully not have to worry about weeds. I left the area between the plastic, you know, obviously so we can walk through, but I have access to a tiller that I can run through here that shouldn't touch each end of the plastic too. So hopefully all this should go a lot better than last year. This was overridden with weeds. Yeah, it was bad. That's all I'll say about last year. I should have roughly 40-foot pieces of plastic left. I think 3. This might be the last one I need, and then it'll be corn and then potatoes. So we'll see how much I can fit in here, how it fills up. Really the only seed things I have left, green beans, peas, and a few beets. Otherwise, not really planting a whole lot. So try and get this straight. This would be much easier with a plastic layer, but they are expensive. And it just, for the little bit that I'm doing for the garden, it's not practical for me. This works just fine. Take a rake, you rake it over, you stand on it as you go. It's pretty easy. Now that the dirt is all on top of the edges of the plastic, we can come in, start putting our holes in, planting the seeds. I've seen a lot of different methods on putting the holes in, you know, getting a can red hot or something that's round and heating it, and you just go along and melt it. I found that if you take I use a 3-inch hole saw bit, a dull one at that, but I run it in reverse, and you don't have to worry about heating it, using a torch, anything like that. You don't have to worry about keeping something hot. So that just seems easier, and I used that to drill all these holes, and it worked, as you can see, perfectly fine. There's so many different ways of planting a garden, and I'm sure there's much better ways than what I'm doing, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to let me know that. Let me know how you do your garden, how you control weeds, and if you use plastic or not plastic, or if you've never tried plastic. This is a first for me, so we're gonna see how it works. It's gotta work at least a little bit better than not doing any at all, I would think. So we'll see, experiment, see what happens come time for harvest for everything. Obviously, if you don't have the weeds to combat with, your harvest should be a lot better. You should be able to get more of everything that you plant, in theory. This is how easy this is. Done. Again, we're running it in reverse. If you're gonna try this, don't run it in forward. You will really tear it up. This would be easier with one of them wheel planters that have like I really don't know how to describe them, but they kind of have like pointed ends the whole way around the wheel, and it pokes down through the plastic, and as it comes around, it opens, drops the seed, and then shuts, and they just keep rotating around. You could just go right down the row and plant these beans and everything that way. I did find them on Amazon, but I just don't have the time to wait, as today is obviously our only clear weather day to be able to plant the rest of our garden. Green beans and peas are in this row. I put a trellis up. I think that's what they're called. Because last year when I did peas, they were trying to grab a hold of things, and the only thing they were grabbing a hold of was weeds. So now they have a wire to climb up on, and that should make it a lot nicer. I got the tiller off the tractor. I have the plow middle buster on. I'm gonna work on potatoes now. That way I kind of know and have a gauge on how much corn I can plant in here. And I'm thinking I might do one more row of plastic there, just because it is a little bit on the wetter side. It's gonna be hard to kind of put the corn in there. And then I'll use my hand seeder to plant the rest of the corn kind of over here. That's my thought. So I'll dig the trench for the potatoes, we'll get them in the ground, and then see how much room we have left. I will say there's a lot of people that do say that gardening is too much work, a lot of work, not worth it in the end. You know, you can just go to the store and buy it. And that is true to an extent. You know, it is a lot of work putting in a garden, especially one this size. And mine by no means is, you know, the largest. There's people who do a lot bigger. But it is very rewarding seeing you plant the seeds, you know, you put in all the work, you till the ground, you plant the seeds, and you see them grow and then you harvest. There's nothing more rewarding than that. And then you know what you're getting, you know what you're eating. I don't know, it's just a rewarding process for me. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. One row complete, back in, and we'll do it all over again. Row number 2. Three rows of potatoes are planted and covered, hilled sort of. That hiller attachment really comes in handy to just cover them in general. And then to hill them, it's definitely nice. If you're wondering where I got that, I didn't get that anywhere. I actually built that myself because I felt like I could do it, I guess, cheaper than what I could buy them for, which I could. The most money I have in it is those discs because I bought them all as a one unit, but otherwise it's really not that big of a deal for the frame. It's just a kind of a T-frame welded together, and that's pretty much it, and some category pins. So check that video out if you want to see that. This kind of worked out really well because it lined up with this little, I guess, L shape or H shape you want to say, and it's right along the edge. So now our sweet corn can just go from here down, and I'm not sure where I want to start with that. Maybe down at this end and stay in the drier stuff. My little walk behind cedar will work better in that compared to the wet stuff. The wet stuff will just stick and plug it up. I'm going to start at this end, go that way, and just kind of go back and forth, I guess, from the end of that plastic there, and just kind of make a kind of a square. I don't know. I'll have to see how wet it is, see how this clumps up. I know it's going to clump up in the front because it's typically what it does, but I want a decent amount of sweet corn in here, so barring that it does well, you know, that's going to be the deciding factor, because I'm not putting plastic down for all that. Now, if I had one of them machines, like I said earlier, then yeah, we probably would, because I could just walk along and it would plant it and it would be, you know, perfectly fine. But if the corn grows up good and tall and quick, should shadow and, you know, kind of crowd the weeds anyway, and they won't have time to grow. That's the goal here. Hopefully that's how it works out, but we shall see. It's done. I beat the rain. Now everything can sprout and do well because of getting rain shortly after planting, and there's moisture in this soil, so it probably would be fine anyway. So just an overview. We got potatoes. I got 7 rows of sweet corn in here, and 3 of which extend out past in that space right there. I added another row of plastic, which I ended up doing more onions, and come to think of it, I did yellow onions down here also, or whites, sorry, whites. I did white onions there, and I added white onions probably 3/4 of the way down through here to right here, and then I did red beets that short little distance. Thinking back, I should have done white onions and yellow onions, but I did both whites, so no big deal. It is what it is. Green beans, peas here, and then I already went over everything down here, and obviously this is all sweet corn in here. You can kind of see the rows. One thing I always do every single year when I put this garden in here, obviously once everything grows, you know what it is. But right now, I still know what it is. A week from now, I might be like, what's planted here? So a lot of times, every year so far, this is what I've done. This was, I believe, last year. I always draw myself a map. So we have the barn right there, chickens right here. So you can kind of see, I just draw everything out. Quick sketch, doesn't have to be perfect. And I just label everything. That way I know where things are, what's planted where, because it helps me kind of continually go along and plant. You know, a lot of our viney that really, you know, the plants that really extend are gonna end up being down here in the bottom lower section. So, you know, I didn't want to put like beets, for instance, right next to that, because when they vine and extend over into here, if they do, then, you know, that kind of defeats the whole purpose, as the tomatoes will grow tall. It doesn't really matter if these vine over. So kind of things like that is what I try to think about and take into consideration, but that's just something I like to do. That keeps it a little bit more organized for myself personally. And then we have an old shoebox for all my seeds and discs for the little hand planter that I use. I am glad that that's done. I'm glad everything's in the ground, because honestly, with me doing this plastic, I could have had this stuff in the ground long before this, because it actually, that plastic gets warm when it's sunny, and it would have been really warming the soil. It helps keep the moisture underneath. So I probably could have had all this stuff planted like a month ago. You know, rain, busy with other stuff. It's just kind of the nature of everything, but hopefully it does pretty well this year. This is a completely different look from last year. I'm just hoping, you know, it contains a lot of the weeds. Obviously in between here, I can rototill all this. You can see a bunch of these bulb type things. Those are gonna sprout and grow. There's already weeds coming in the centers here. Not worried about the centers. Obviously, I can't really rototill up here without ripping the plastic to shreds. So, gotta watch that. But the biggest thing is having the weeds right next to the plant. So, hopefully, this rain is not a pouring drench rain, but, you know, a good rain that does good for the seeds and does good for all the plants. Now I just need to clean up my discs, pick up the rest of my tools, which is just the drill and the cutters from that wire, and I'm done. Take the tractor back, and now I can relax a little bit. The only thing I didn't get done before the rain is mow the grass. That's probably not happening. It's 7 o'clock. Could probably get it done before dark. We'll see. I was gonna try and show you guys the oat growth, but I didn't anticipate this taking as long as it did. So we'll just put that in another video and we'll get cleaned up. I can already feel kind of the air starting to change. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this works out a little bit better. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your experiences, what works for you, what doesn't work when you plant your garden. And, you know, give me tips, tricks, anything you got. I'm all ears. Really appreciate you guys watching, tuning in. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It definitely helps me out. And I'll see you next time.